YouTube, it's Mr. Anonymity Trade coming to you with something different today. Coming to you with a tutorial. And actually, it's an altered art tutorial. I've had a couple of people ask me how I do my alters since I've kind of come out into the public eye and said that I alter cards. I haven't altered all that many. In this way, anyway. And I've had a couple of people ask me how I do it, and Afro-Mime sent me a pretty detailed message as to what he would like to see, so we're going to work off of that, and I'm going to try and make this as short as possible, just kind of lay out the basics of everything, so maybe you guys can start doing alters too. Here are some things you'll need. Fortunately, a card. This is not the card I'm going to alter. Masking tape, but make sure it's less sticky than normal masking tape. I usually use stuff like this, but I've come to favor this recently, so if you can find this, I'd highly suggest it. We have three, well, I use, for this alter at least, this is a basic alter, so Sharpies, 3 different sizes, pencil, just in case you want to do a base sketch, and a Prismacolor Magic Rub Eraser. This gets rid of ink, pretty fantastic. So those are the basic things you'll need. Something else you'll need is a modicum of artistic talent. You don't have to be Michelangelo, but at the same time, the quality of an alter is going to depend very heavily upon how much you can actually draw outside of computer-generated proxies and stuff like that. So without further ado, let's begin.
Alright, so starting out, we're going to go with Afro-Mime Suggestion and blank a basic land. So what we're going to do is take this. This is my special altering Scotch tape. It's actually called frog tape. And it works a little better when it comes to alters simply because it doesn't stick as much. It's a very dry masking tape, so the card face is very protected. Get it right on the first go, and this is, yeah. So let's try that. Basically what we're going to do here is we're going to cover with tape all of the areas that we do not want to blank out. So there we go, there's one side. Here's another side. The reason I get my strips a little longer than the card needs is because a certain amount of length on the tape gives it extra stability and tension against the desk, and keeps the tape from curling back when I start blanking, because there's a lot of friction on it. Time to start blanking. What I use to do this is a magic rub, Prismacolor magic rub, which basically rubs away ink and stuff. I used to use just straight acetone to remove the card face, but it's too variable. It's unpredictable, and it's more time consuming than this actually. So I stick with this. I'm going to time lapse through most of this, but see, for this first bit, I want to show you just how easily certain sets blank. See, that's after a few seconds, and this is already blanking. So certain sets are going to blank more quickly than others. You just have to determine which is best for the style of alter you'll be doing. So I'm going to throw this in time lapse for now, and see you back in a second. So we have a mostly blanked out card. There's a little bit of artifacts that I would normally get rid of, but for the purposes of this tutorial, it'll do just fine. Oh. Carefully peel up and toward yourself. You don't want to peel away with tape because that's what makes it rip. So back and toward myself, back and toward myself. And here we have a mountain with the middle blanked. Here we go. Great. Certain cards are going to take longer to get a final on, like foils, for instance. And you have to clean them up afterwards because the artifacts remain. But regular cards blink pretty easily. As you can see, it only really took me a couple of minutes to do this. So what's next on the agenda is to work on a concept. I know not everybody has the exact same process, but for me, if I'm going to do a freehand altar like this, it typically helps for me to be aware of have a general framework from what I want to work around. So I have kind of a funny idea about this. We'll work it out right here. So this is the rough concept I think I'm going to work off of for this card. For those of you who are thinking along the same lines as me, you might have noticed what it is already, but if you haven't, that's fine. So let's get started drawing this. I'm going to face this towards me now. Sorry about that. I just need to be able to concentrate on it. I need to be able to draw, and drawing upside down is easy enough for simple things, but not for things like this. So the first thing we're going to do is set up a baseline of our lighter colors. So here we're going to have this beige-ish color. Something I learned while doing a recent altar was to saturate the card face with a color, and then you can move it with your finger, almost like paints or pastels. So that's what I'm going to do first to get our base. And it's kind of experimentation that you have to go through with materials to figure out dynamics like this, especially when it comes to a medium that you haven't encountered before. Because prior to working on card faces, Sharpies and markers more in general were pretty limiting for me. I didn't think that they had a lot of broad spanning applications simply because when you put the ink down, it typically just aggregates right there into the paper. So there's not a lot of, you can't work with it. So I kind of forego it sometimes with paper mediums. In lieu of this, I'll use a more traditional thing like an oil pastel or maybe paint. Specifically acrylics work really well. But for magic cards, the face is constructed in such a way that it still stays pliable, at least for a short time afterwards. So you get a nice baseline of color that you can work off of. If you're gonna do it with your finger, make sure to use different fingers for different colors, because otherwise things can get messy. So we've got a nice light base coat. I think we're going to use the same base coat for this front part, so I'll get a little extra up here so I can draw him in. Okay, our next light part is actually going to be above him, and it's going to be this light blue color. So it might help to reborder the card if you're going to be doing this, but for the sake of timeliness for this tutorial, I'm going to forego that option at the moment and simply alter to the best of my abilities freehand. See, the border didn't affect the border in this swipe, so maybe I'll be able to be okay with the rest of them. As you can see here, we're getting something of a soft watercolor effect, which is what we want, or at least what I was going for. So the Sharpie ink really does, like I said, on the card face, to lend itself very well to alters. Something not a lot of people alter with, but in actuality, all three of the alters that I showed previously in the video, I did with Sharpies. So, more versatile. All you have to do is experiment with your medium, and you can figure things like this out. Maybe get a little more blue up here, and then we can start moving in on detail work. Okay, so here we have what should be pretty obviously ground and sky levels. So let's keep moving. Make sure you close up your equipment so it doesn't dry out. And actually, for this character, we only really need one kind of dark spot back here. So we'll saturate the card face and move the ink around as we did earlier. Kind of give it a light furry look because it is going to be a furry creature. Or at least I think they're kind of furry. They're not fluffy, they have hair. So we might have to add more in a minute, but for now that'll be fine. What we did our fine tip of black Sharpie for line work. Always handy to have one of these around. And we'll start on the character's facial outline. Give him those whiskers we gave him in the concept sketch. There we go, some whiskers for him. Give him his little paws. Some little claws to get through the ground. Maybe drawing some detail work around his fur, just to make sure this part of it is delineated from the rest of his body. Give him some more coloration to play with the lighting. Give him a little bit of shadowing, because he is sitting on the ground, guys. So we gotta make him distinct from his environment. So there we go. hard line here. You want it to follow the style of what you've been drawing in, so just give some little brief strokes. Try to mimic that fur look we've been working on. Get nice general lines in here. There we go. Sweet. Alright. Put some little rocks in. Actually, build up some stones around him might be a good idea, because he's coming out of the dirt after all. So, put in some little rocks, little debris around him. Kind of borrowing from a Mr. Saturn design, for those of you who are aware of Earthbound. But whenever I see Mr. Saturn, I always kind of picture a mole type character. So, spoiler alert, that's what we're drawing. Maybe put in a little bit of grass. Don't want the area to be too barren. Put some clouds in. This is a bit stylized and quick in comparison to my other altars, but it's just so you guys can get the idea. So here we have a molehill made out of a mountain. It's a textless basic land altar, and that's just the basic process that I use to get these accomplished. Now, I do other altars, things more akin to what you would call proxies, I guess, altered art cards, and I have a couple of those actually going out pretty soon. But this is my traditional altar technique.
Well, I hope that tutorial helped out the people who are interested in altering some cards. Get out there and show me your altars. Feel free to link video responses to this if you do altars, because I'm sure people will be interested to see. Why don't you pop on over to Afromime's channel and give him a thank you for asking me to do this tutorial, and leave in the comments if you have any suggestions of things you'd like to see in the future. Also, my 100th video will be coming up soon, so leave me suggestions for what I should do for that. As always, this is Mr. Anonymity Trade, telling you to trade safe.